Because at points I won't know what to put, I'll just put my Mario 64 gameplay there. The Miyoo Mini, how a dead handheld rose to fame. The Miyoo Mini was and still is one of the most popular handhelds on the market because of its cute size and perfect screen. Nowadays, they're almost always out of stock, and I think the normal one has been discontinued. But it wasn't always like this. When it just came out, it seemed like e-waste and was left to die. But why was that? The Miyoo Mini V1 came out sporting a 480p 2.8-inch screen. This later bit them in the back because of the stock issues, but more on that later. The V1 was the only one to come out with a 1900 mAh battery, and to run everything was two ARM Cortex A7s clocked at 1.2 GHz. This can play up to PS1 with relatively no issue. These just sat there on AliExpress at below $60 with free shipping. Voiceover Oliver. So, the Miyoo Mini you see on the screen right now is $64, but when it was in the V1 phase, it was below $60. The main problem with it was its OS. It's very bare bones and couldn't do much. But a dev that goes by the name AME91 loved the device and wanted to make it something more fleshed out and usable. He ended up creating Unun OS. Unun OS is a very customizable OS while staying simple. This has become one of the best OSs in general, and many others, such as Garlic OS, have been trying to chase that cleanness. Once Onion OS came out, the Miyoo Minis flew off the shelves. After the Miyoo Mini V1 sold out, Miyoo had to make more. That is where the Miyoo Mini V2 came. The V2 is almost the same. The only difference was a 100 mAh increase in the battery to 2000 mAh. With this upgrade, many people flocked to go get it. The V2 sold out really fast. Now the story branches out a bit. Apparently there's a V3, but many people believe that it is exactly the same as the V2. V2, V3, it doesn't really matter. Eventually a V4 does come out, so I am just going to assume from here on that the V3 did exist. And now about the screen. The screen was a 480p screen from a BlackBerry, so those stock issues hit Miyoo hard as they weren't being developed anymore and they just had to go off of old stock. While the Miyoo Mini was blowing up, Miyoo was freaking out. They didn't have enough 2.8-inch screens. And if they didn't get more products out faster, their competitor, the RGC5XX, would beat them. The RGC5XX was a tough competitor. It ran on a faster CPU, built-in file transfer, and it had HDMI out. The only thing it was lacking was size. Because of the lack of screens, Miyoo released a new console, the Miyoo Mini Plus. The Plus used this much more common 3.5-inch screen. This is a good screen and gave the screen a much needed size boost. It also came with Wi-Fi, a much needed addition, adding retro achievements, Pokemon trading, and even Twitch streaming. And last but not least was the shoulder button upgrade. The sacrifice of size. Miyoo's strength over the RG-C5XX was its size. While still smaller than the C5XX now, they are very close. Voiceover Oliver here. So, the Miyoo Mini used a BlackBerry 2.8-inch screen, and they weren't being produced anymore, and that is why they ran out of stock on that. And the RT35XX did use a 3.5-inch screen, very similar to the Miyoo Mini Plus, and that's why its stock didn't dwindle. Now, with this new release, it seemed like you couldn't get the original Miyoo Mini now. This disappointed many, as it's one of the best handhelds, but it was alright. Miyoo had released one to replace it, and the story seemed to have been over. But Miyoo wasn't over yet. Next was the V4. Everyone was excited. It seemed like the screen crisis was solved, because the description was the exact same as the V2 and 3. Many people flocked to order it before it would sell out, but it was sadly too good to be true. Instead of shipping with its regular screen, it shipped with a 752 by 560 screen. While still a 2.8-inch screen, it lost one of its most important things, its perfect 480p screen. Many were frustrated as Miyoo wouldn't refund their purchase. There's a weird filtering to make it still work with Onion OS, but it was nowhere near perfect. Now comes the end of the story, at least for now. Because Miyoo was getting so much hate for what they had done, they allowed the screen to show up as its original size, the 752 by 560 screen, to the system. This allowed for people who wanted to get perfect scaling to get it. Now, to wrap it all up, while you can get a Miyoo Mini Plus or Miyoo Mini V4, in my opinion, if you are like techy enough, just get an RTC 5XX Plus. It has HDMI, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, better chip for Nintendo 64, DS, PSP, and more, with a price tag very close to the Miyoo Mini Plus and Miyoo Mini.
So, this isn't actually the end of the story. I've just forgotten a few things. So, the Miyoo Mini horizontal was leaked. That is just a Miyoo Mini with a joystick on the side, it seemed, and horizontal. And that seems to have not taken off, and it seems to be not non-existent. Doesn't exist anymore. But the Miyoo Mini Flip was announced and officially was said that it would release in January, December kind of area, 2023, 2024 barrier. So that is when I'm recording it right now, and there has been no new information on it apart from something from a while back saying, yeah, it'll release at this time. So you'll just have to look out for that one. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe, and I'll see you again very, very soon.